Hey everybody, Steve Przebrowski. Welcome to tip number 57 in the series 101 Tips to Ace Your Promotional Exam. As a reminder, my website, code3firetrain.com, is a free stuff with lots of great free information on there to help you or anybody else that you're helping be the best that they can be, or yourself, obviously, being the best that you can be. The series is based off the book that was recently published by Fire and Training Books and Videos, available off their website as well as mine. And also in the green box, a 25% off tip code there if you order it on their website. All right, let's get into tip 57 here. Tip number 57, pretty straightforward. Understand your role and power, role, responsibility, and power. And that's a powerful word, obviously. No shit, Sherlock, I'm a college graduate. As a supervisor, manager, and leader. Now, the voices of experience, or the words of wisdom, as we call them, that help support my words in this tip that I talk about are from two of my good friends and mentors. One of them, Anthony Avillo, who's retired as a deputy chief out of North Hudson Regional Fire Rescue in New Jersey, and then also Dina Alley, captain of Raleigh, North Carolina Fire. Both great individuals. If you haven't had a chance to ever hear either one of them speak, read Anthony's books. He's got a couple of books published by Fire Engineering out there. Great stuff. Dina does a lot of great stuff on mental health and well-being and health and wellness, which is such a big issue right now in today's world, not to mention the fire service. But Dina is one of the subject matter experts in that field right now, someone I really, truly respect. So let's understand those words, because the words supervisor, manager, and leader are all three different words. A lot of people confuse manager and leader, but there's differences. You know, I think the easiest way I was taught was we lead people, but we manage things, manage projects. Now, everyone always wants to be a leader. I mean, I think if someone calls you a leader, that's a compliment. But if someone were to call you, say, a manager or supervisor, that could be a disrespectful comment, depending on, even if they meant it sincerely and they were saying it respectfully and they meant it truly respectfully, because you maybe are a great manager or supervisor. I don't think a lot of people would take that as a compliment versus they say, hey, you're a good, solid, awesome leader. They're, oh, yeah, that's awesome, bitching, yeah. But here's the thing. Even the best leaders out there have to have good, solid management skills, good, solid supervision skills. Now, here's the difference, though. Whereas someone that is maybe a supervisor by rank is usually in that rank position, meaning like in the fire department, it's usually company officer, lieutenant, all the way up to fire chief. You're a supervisor. With that supervisory rank usually comes management duties and responsibilities and power, as well as leadership duties and responsibilities and power. Versus, say, a firefighter or engineer, you may not be a supervisor by definition. You may not be a manager by definition, unless you are assigned to manage a project or a program, which some firefighters, drivers actually do manage programs or projects, especially in smaller departments. And you definitely don't have any leadership requirements or responsibilities as a firefighter engineer by definition. However, in reality, though, all ranks have leadership capability and potential. And I think that's the key for all of us to remember, is don't just say, well, just a firefighter, just an engineer. Okay, be the best darn engineer, be the best darn firefighter you can be, and realize you have leadership potential. Even a volunteer firefighter has leadership potential. I mean, so instead of thinking negative, be positive. But again, there's differences to each. And I encourage you to be aware and understand and be able to articulate the differences. Hey, good managers have to also have good leadership skills as well as good supervisory skills. Because if you're all leader, but you tend to forget the management or supervisory part, you're probably not being a good, effective, timely, relevant leader. You know, as I touched on, you know, even a firefighter has leadership potential, even a volunteer has leadership potential, but every rank you go up changes, and your role in what you can and cannot do changes. And you got to be aware of those things. It's easy for a lot of firefighters to say, well, you forgot where you came from when someone gets promoted to, say, captain, because maybe now they're holding you accountable. So you forgot where you came from. When you were a firefighter, you used to say the same things, or used to, you know, goof off and have fun and screw around and maybe cross the line when it came time to what you could or couldn't do at the firehouse, legally, ethically, you know. And then now it's like, wait a second, just yesterday, you were a firefighter cracking jokes, making fun of everybody in the firehouse, crossing the line, and now you're the captain. Now, because you wear the plungers or wear the badge, that you now have to say, oh, can't do that anymore. Well, that's not forgetting where you came from. That's, guess what? As a supervisor, you now have different responsibilities and roles that a firefighter may not. I mean, a firefighter is not a supervisor, nothing personal. It's just they don't have the supervisory responsibilities. But now that you're the officer, you have to hold people accountable for, policies. Billy Goldfeder says it best. A company officer's primary role is to make sure that people are following policy. I know that sounds like, well, you're a manager. Well, you are as a company officer. You're also a leader, but you're also a supervisor too. And you have to enforce policy. I mean, I know it sounds unsexy and fun, but you look at where problems exist at the firehouse, it's usually because company officers are deviating from policy. And I'm not talking about deviating when you're doing the right thing in the heat of the battle and you got to make that split-second decision. Those are different. I'm saying the day-to-day stuff where you just, fuck the policy manual. It's just, we don't follow that anyway here. We do what we want at this station. No, that's you can't have that attitude and go against what is. Think about it. Your policies, whether you like them or not, they're not just management's policies or administration's policies or your command staff's policies. In most organizations, those policies were also agreed to by your labor group. So labor management is usually a very effective process. Again, we don't have to agree on everything, but hopefully we can agree to disagree on those points that we don't fully agree on, but at least we're respectful, collaborative, everything else. But most areas that are not right to work states where there's union representation and they have collective bargaining and so forth, policies are usually jointly approved. I mean, that's how you change them as well too. And if you can't change them, guess what? Regardless of what they are, our job, especially as supervisors, is to follow policy. I mean, that's not a leader. Understand the differences, but just realize that your job and your role changes. And hopefully as a firefighter, you were never that much of a screw off, because the last thing you want to be is a hypocrite. You don't want to be the guy that was talking shit about everybody at the kitchen table as a firefighter, making fun of everybody. And then as a supervisor, a week later going, you can't talk like that around the firehouse table when you were doing it a week ago. That's pretty hypocritical. So you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So start out well, doing the right thing, respecting others, and just being respectful, being ethical, doing the right thing. I know it's not fun, but also never abuse or misuse your power, but ensure you do your job and what is expected of you. When I say that, you're power wise, this is where a lot of people get in trouble on the promotional exams. I've in many departments, part of the promotional process is to have you do an oral interview, a fireground simulation, maybe a written test, but also maybe a personnel scenario where you have to do a role play or maybe watch a video and basically either do a crew meeting or have a pissed off firefighter that maybe is violating policy, where you have to sit them down and deal with it, which is one of the more crunchier conversations we can have as supervisors. Now, if everyone just fell on the sword and said, hey, you know what, I screwed up, my bad, I apologize, life would be good, but not everyone does that. As an officer, as a supervisor, you're going to have to sit down people sometimes when they're not taking personal responsibility and doing the right thing. But I've seen even in promotional exams where during role plays, remember, if you have a role player, they're there to get you riled up to see if you can take the bait and see if you can lose your cool. And sadly, there's a lot of promotional candidates during a promotional process that lose their shit. I mean, I've seen that where the raider, I mean, I'll give an example. One department south of here, I was there as a deputy chief along with another deputy chief from another department. We were the two raiders for this role play scenario, a personnel counseling scenario, and it was for a captain's test. So the situation was that, okay, captain, come on in. I was playing the bad guy, the other guy was playing the good guy. So I was the problem child. So as soon as that wannabe captain, wannabe supervisor sat down, I was the asshole basically. And I was the one that said, yeah, so what? I was late five minutes. What the fuck's the big deal? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just stupid fucking policy anyway. That was my role. I was following a script just to be the dick, be the jackass. I get it. Don't take it personal. Well, this individual took the bait, and here I am, and I'm just sitting there going, nah, it's not a big deal. Why do I need to be on time? 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late. The policy is just stupid. Why do we have to follow policy anyway? And this captain candidate immediately started getting in my face and in my grill, and I thought he was going to punch me out. And I'm just sort of sitting there, and I'm like, dude, you want to be a captain? This is your promotional exam. You're losing your marbles right now. And he basically at one point goes, you know what? I'm going to make sure I'm going to fire you. Okay, I don't know of any captain in any department that has the ability to fire somebody or hire somebody or promote somebody. Usually the only person that can fire, hire, promote is usually the fire chief, the top person at that organization. And in some organizations, it's above the fire chief's head. In some organizations, it's actually maybe the city manager that does the hiring and the firing. So definitely not a company officer, but this guy, I guess he just was, I don't know what his thing was, but he lost his cool. He didn't pass. He failed, as he should have failed, because I'm like, if this is the way you're going to handle your crew in a scenario, and how is it going to be in real life? You're going to be that, I've got the captain's badge, I've got the plungers, you do what I say. That was basically what the guy was doing, a very dictator, autocratic style that would not work in today's world. And I think that's the key to leadership, is taking the high road and being able to communicate with people effectively, efficiently, and communicate with people of all age groups, not just your own age group, but those above, those below you, everything else. But anyway, back to misusing your power. This wannabe captain didn't even understand that a captain could not hire or fire somebody. So really, the key point is know what you can do at your level. So if you're going for captain or battalion chief, know where you are in the food chain. Now, a captain can still recommend that someone gets fired through the chain of command up to the fire chief, but you better provide that fire chief with a lot of good, valuable information of why, because a fire chief's not just going to, well, you trust me, chief, right? Well, I trust you, but I got to verify. Trust but verify. Well, this guy's late. We got to fire the guy. He was late 5 minutes. Well, yeah, we got to fire him. He's not following policy. Well, guess what the fire chief's going to ask for? Let's see what you have documentation wise. And is it his first time, his second time, his third time? What did he say? Did he apologize for it? Is he telling you F you? Is he insubordinate? Have you sat down with him before? What have you done in a performance improvement way to get to this level? Because progressive discipline, that ladder of progressive discipline, with termination being the worst and usually the lowest level being verbal or oral reprimand or oral counseling, and technically, okay. Progressive discipline starts with establishing expectations, holding people accountable through a nice teachable moment, but then escalates usually through various levels of disciplinary steps, as we're probably all well aware of: verbal counseling, written counseling, maybe a suspension or transfer, demotion, up to termination. The reason why there's all these levels of the ladder of progressive discipline is you try to match the appropriate level to change behavior. To have to say we're going to fire somebody, you better have some darn good proof, and more importantly, a lot of good documentation of what you've done, what you've said to them, what they've said in return. It's not taken lightly, nor should it. But again, know what you can do or not do, and don't threaten people, because again, it shows that you don't understand the power that you have. And here's a person that wanted to be a captain that abused their power. They're going to be a power hungry person. And we all unfortunately have seen those power hungry, badge heavy people out there. And it sucks to have to work for or with people like that. So don't abuse it, but ensure you do your job. And on the flip side, make sure you hold people accountable. Don't just be the guy that looks, well, whatever, no big deal. You're late again. It's all good. One time is one thing, but if you're allowing the same behavior to continue, because think about it, why is progressive discipline in there? To change behavior. If you're like, let's say someone's late 5 minutes and they say, oh yeah, traffic sucked and everything else, and I'll be here better on time next time. Okay, don't let it happen again. And then 2 weeks later, they're late 5 minutes again. Oh yeah, no big deal. Traffic sucked. I'm sorry, Cap. I won't let it happen again. Oh yeah, don't do it again. You're still at a teachable moment, coaching session. You haven't gone up that ladder. And then of course, next thing happens, a month later, same thing, 5 minutes late. Oh, sorry, Cap. I did my bad. I'll get to, I'll do a better job next time. Oh yeah, don't let it happen again. That's where I think, struggle with the fire service. That person's done the same thing 3 times in a row. The level of discipline has not changed. Well, guess what? Discipline is there to change behavior. Most people hopefully will get changed by a coaching session that doesn't even get to the level of oral reprimand. It's just a coaching session, a teachable moment of, hey, this is the policy, this is the impact. I mean, you impacted your brother or sister because they can't get home. Well, I'm sorry, boss. I get it, but make sure you hold people accountable, because that's where sometimes the biggest challenges lie, is officers not holding people accountable. Again, back to company officer, your job is to ensure people are following policy. And if you don't hold them accountable for following a policy, that's where problems exist. And guess what? When this, if you don't, I mean, there's a time to sweat the small stuff, a time not to sweat the small stuff. But if you're continuously just, oh yeah, no big deal, don't be late again, don't be late again, don't be late again, and the behavior continues, that small stuff is impacting others, like that individual that's getting held over every time, that's getting pissed off that you, captain, are not doing your job. You're not holding your personnel accountable. But the small things could be a symptom of a bigger problem. And then when things really explode, that same person is going to point the fingers right back at you and say, hey, you never said it was a big deal, and now you want to get me fired? You should have held me accountable better. Yeah, you should have, captain. So yeah, we could talk all day on this one, but again, don't abuse your power or misuse it, but also ensure you do your job and what's expected of you. And it's the old saying, if you're old enough to remember O.J. Simpson, the football Hall of Famer that was that he supposedly, allegedly killed his wife, and God, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Anyway, back in the early 90s, I think most people, if you look at O.J. Simpson, I mean, I thought he was guilty of sin based on the facts that I was made aware of, good, bad, or indifferent. But he got off on a technicality. Johnny Cochran, the lawyer, oh, try that glove on. It don't fit. Hey, if it don't fit, you must acquit. I think OJ got off on a technicality. Well, whether or not you love OJ or disagree or agree, doesn't matter. The statement is correct in the sense that this is where a lot of disciplinary actions fail or get turned around, because sometimes the company officer or maybe the battalion chiefs maybe abuses or misuses their power and goes for the throat too much, and then maybe denies or deprives the individual of their union rights. Yeah, that's why it's critical as a company officer and a chief officer, you understand your union contract or union agreement, your union or association agreement, whatever you call your memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding, MOU, MOA. Like in California, we have the California Firefighter Bill of Rights. Some other states have Bill of Rights for their union members. You as an officer need to know that shit inside and out, because you can easily overstep your boundaries and get yourself in trouble big time. Don't let that happen to you. And obviously, if don't fit, you must acquit. And that's where, unfortunately, a lot of things people get off on technicalities, even if they're guilty of what they did. So, hey, the last thing the fire chief wants you to do is overstep your boundaries, which can be devastating financially and politically to the department, obviously, but also to your credibility, respect, not to mention the same of the fire department, the entire fire service. And I say that because, like I said, if you violate someone's rights, they may successfully sue you or the department and win because you didn't follow chain of command or procedure. Don't shy away from your duties and responsibilities, but also don't be retired in place. So that said, as always, please don't hesitate to reach out if I can ever be of assistance. And until the next time, thank you very much for the gift of your time. Be safe and keep doing your job to the best of your abilities. All right. Have a good day, everybody.